And he raved about Cam Sims and called him the glue of their group. Specifically, his quote was, "He became a true pro last year." Speaking on 2020, we relied on him a ton. He's done a fantastic job. He's one of the smartest guys in the room as far as being able to move him around at the position. So they're really excited for Cam and what's ahead. Fellas, my question for you all, there, how do you see this position group playing out in general? Because there's going to be a few guys that we all thought had some potential throughout some point of the season last year and throughout some point of the offseason last year. Things have changed drastically this offseason. We've added a few people, man, and clearly the top three or top four is already set. So how is this position group playing out for y'all? Who's going to stick around? Who has the best chance to stick around? Who do you all see that may be surprising to some, but not surprising to you that gets cut? Tackle it any way you want.
For
I'm just
me,
posing all the questions. Yep.
no, I mean, so this wide receiver group last year, in the last couple of years, it went from a severe weakness to maybe one of your strengths on the team. Now, we're not talking about maybe a top 10 group in the NFL or anything, but this is a group that you're probably going to look at from 1 to 6 from the guys that they're going to keep on the roster and say, this is a solid group of guys from 1 to 6. And that a few guys are going to get cut, and they're going to piss the fan base off in training camp. Once August comes, there's going to be some guys that get cut from this group. The fans are going to swear he's going to be a star somewhere else. And it's the point of bringing Cam Sims because I really liked what Cam showed last year. He was probably above his head a lot of times in having to play our number two receiver. Now, you don't want that. You don't want Cam Sims as your number two receiver, but you could do a lot worse than Cam Sims as your number four, number five receiver. So I think he sticks with that group. So we may be talking about five guys. That's a lot because you got Terry, you got Curtis, Amy Brown, and Adam Humphries, and then there's Cam Sims. So now you're talking about Steven Sims Jr., Antonio Gandy Golden, Kelvin Harmon, and Dax Milne all fighting for one spot. So that's going to be one of the most intriguing battles for me to watch the whole training camp because I want to see coming out of that group. I mean, Steven Sims Jr., he's on thin ice. I mean, because he had a really disappointing season last year. Antonio Gandy Golden, who we just drafted in the 4th round last year, he's on thin ice because he had a really disappointing rookie year where he just looked lost. But he's still young. He's also a guy that may see the light in his second year. And you got Kelvin Harmon, who's a fan favorite for fans that loved him when they drafted him out of NC State, but he got hurt last year. So you want to see how he returns off of injury. And then you got the guy from this year, Dax Milne, who played with Zach Wilson up at BYU. He was his best receiver up there, and that guy could be what everyone wanted Trey Quinn to be. So that's going to be one of the more intriguing battles of training camp that I want to see all year because I want to see who makes those last 2 to 1 spot out of all of those guys.
Yeah, we comparing white wide receivers to white wide receivers.
I mean, for us, yeah.
I'm just playing, but I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like the guys with the hype on the team, like Antonio Golden, whatever his name is,
Gandy Golden,
and Gandy Golden, and Cam Sims, they're definitely at a benefit of making this roster. I mean, if you look at the rest of the wide receiver corps, it's smaller guys, and you still kind of need that big possession guy on your team. I think it really just boils down to if Steven Sims can start consistently making catches. If he can, I think he has a good chance of making the team. I think Adam Humphries might be the one on the bubble. I just really don't see where he gets any reps unless Curtis Samuel continues to be hurt throughout the season. I think it's wide open. Is who's gonna make an impression with the 3 preseason games, and just go from there. I think it's a toss up, but I'm still not really thrilled at the wide receiver position. But I think it's just if one of those key guys go down, like Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel, it's like where do you go next? You pretty much back to 2020.
So let me ask you all because my boy Darius, he's a Philly fan, so he trying to get some intel. What are y'all thoughts on De'Ami Brown? just kind of fill him in on where you at personally with the guy. Obviously, personally, I think he's a lock. And I think I think it's safe to assume that y'all are gonna say he's a lock as well. But what are y'all thoughts on him as a receiver?
He definitely a lot. Third round pick. Yeah, he's gonna make the team. So I think you possibly looking at Diami Brown as one of your top 3 wide receivers. I mean, he has that potential. Some people even think he has the potential to be a number 2 guy at some point. Like, that's the explosive ability he has. That's what he did at UNC. But what you want to see from him is him developing a more broader route tree, because that was one of his knocks coming out of UNC, is that he pretty much just ran the fly route. But he played in the ACC. I mean, it's not the SEC or nothing. So if you could beat your guy with one route all day, you're going to do it. But I don't think that means he's limited to just that one route. It's just that you want to see that he can do more, because, I mean, he seems like he has the ability. But I think he could be possibly playing more outside than Curtis Samuel this year. So I think he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think he's on the outside as well. But in terms of my opinion, because Disco, you brought up a good point, right? I want to like Cam Sims, but he's so inconsistent for me. Big catch, then big drop. I agree with that. I like Cam Sims, so I'm past the point of wanting to. I am a fan of Cam Sims. But again, consistency is his issue, and that's the same thing with Steven Sims as well, right? The issue with other players that we're looking at with this position group, the guys, Kelvin Harmon, Antonio Gandy Golden, those 2 in particular, for whatever AGG, his issues were, he was irrelevant, a non-factor, invisible on the field when he was on the field. And then, he dealt with some injuries. I can't remember specifically what it was. It may have been one injury that was actually keeping him out. I don't remember. But Kelvin Harmon is obviously coming off the ACL. These 2 guys are already, they're probably at the lower end, and trying to overcome the injury things and proving that they can play, but then also having to take on the fact that Isaiah Wright is a versatile guy. Steven Sims is a versatile guy. We're talking about, when I say that, I'm talking about being able to play receiver and special teams. AGG, we don't know what he does. Like, literally, I don't know. Like, obviously he's a receiver, but how talented is he on the pro level? But would they even consider putting him at special teams? Like, what is your value outside of being able to play that position? Because at this point, when you're talking about the bottom end of the roster, you have to do a little bit more. And Steven Sims, I like him as a return man. I don't like him at punt return, but he's a very good kick returner. And for the life of me, I cannot explain why the hell they took him off kick return duty and only put him solely at special punt return, because that was what killed him. I don't know what type of momentum thing or mental thing that was kind of holding him back, but he was terrible. And he was terrible 2 years in a row. Like, he was playmaking at kickoff returns. He had kickoff returns for touchdowns, and they refused to put him back there. I didn't get it. So it really comes down to being able to.
Jamal also wanted to point out. Yeah, I was going to say, talk about the bottom of the roster, and since you brought up the whole kick return, punt return thing with Steven Sims, it's interesting you mentioned that, because it's a guy I keep forgetting on the roster that they just
right after this. Your guy. I think it's Carter something, right?
DeAndre Carter. Yeah, DeAndre Carter. He specifically a kick punt return specialist. And I mention him because this is a guy you could see get a roster spot, simply for the fact that something I always mention is that we drafted a long snapper. So clearly specialty positions matter to this group of coaches. So that could be a guy that could be making Steven Sims even more expendable.
Yeah. So first of all, what's going on, Jared? He mentioned that he keep hearing people say that they should move AGG to tight end. What do you? First off, I've heard about Kelvin Harmon more than I've heard about AGG, Jared. And in my opinion, like, thinking on the spot, I don't know, bruh. I don't know. Not for either one of them. Kelvin Harmon, AGG, like, these experiments are kind of like, they're too far gone. Especially at the receiver position, you either gotta show up, bruh. You gotta show up, because they got their tight ends. They got the type of guys that they're looking for, right? You have what's his name? Logan Thomas, who's a particular build. Then you got John Bates, and then Samus Reyes, and the new guy that I'm drawing a blank on, the former receiver. who is actually a big body, decent tight end at this point. So they kind of have their build, and it's kind of hard to convert somebody who's in a roster battle. They can do it, but they're kind of shorting themselves versus just trying to prove themselves a receiver. So I don't think Kelvin should switch to tight end. I don't think AGG should switch to tight end at all. They just got to show up. Otherwise, they're on the chopping block. And if I had to guess, Dre, we're talking what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bottom end receivers. I'm thinking they keep 2 out of Kelvin, AGG, Steven Sims, Isaiah Wright, and Dax Milne. Who do you think those 2 are for you? Or if you have more, who are those people for you?
You talking about who do I think will be the last 2 guys from the group?
Yeah, because we're assuming McLaurin,
think
Curtis, and Diami and Adam Humphries, Cam Sims may still be around. If you have other opinion, yeah, who do you got?
Yeah, if I had to predict today, right now, my last 2 would be Cam Sims and Dax Milne, the rookie. I think Antonio Gandy-Golden, you probably will stash him on the practice squad. Maybe same with Kelvin Harmon coming off his injury. And as far as like moving guys like AGG to tight end, I don't know. I guess it just depends on if that's what they really want. I remember them doing that with slower big guys like Niles Paul. He's the last guy I remember us converting from wide receiver to tight end, and it made sense because Niles had that big stocky body. But I mean, tight end is a little different. You got to be able to block. You got to show willingness to block. So it's more than just running routes and being, a guy can go out there and catch some footballs or whatever. So it's got to be a willingness to take on that position. So I don't know if those guys are there yet. I don't know if the coaching staff feels that those guys can be molded into tight ends, or if they even want to do that, because they already got guys at tight ends that's tight ends. So, but as far as that goes, like the last 2 spots, I'm going to right now go record saying Cam Sims and Dax Milne gets the last 2 spots.
All right, so AJ, we were saying we're assuming obviously McLaurin, Curtis, Diami are roster locks. Obviously you had an opinion on Adam Humphries. You said you may think that you're led to believe that he can be the odd man out. So up to you. Who are the 2 or 3 bottom end of the receiver position group? Who are those that's being kept? So you have Adam, Cam, Kelvin, AGG, Steven Sims, Isaiah Wright, Dax Milne. Those are the other guys that's probably up for grabs, their spot, excuse me.
So you're saying who would they keep?
Yeah, who do you think they end up keeping?
I think they end up keeping Harmon and Sims. Everybody else I feel like might be
which Sims? Which Sims we talking about?
Which Sims?
Say that again?
Which one? Cam or Steven?
Oh, Cam Sims.
Okay.
I told y'all a couple episodes ago I don't think Steven Sims is making the team.
Yeah, I don't see it either at all.
Like I said, unless he done got some LASIK surgery, some new hands from Dr. Miami or something. But I can't really see him making the team.
Yeah, I really don't, bruh. And I don't see it for Steven. And I think best case scenario for AGG is that he gets to practice squad. Now, Disco, you did mention he felt that people were a bit harsh on AGG. He's a rookie from a small conference school and he was injured. I don't know if that helps him in this case, man. Because think about it, Disco and fellas, like they did a lot to upgrade the receiver position this offseason. Like if they don't have time to sit and wait and see if like AGG can really do something. And that's a lot for the people that we're talking about here. Like Kelvin, they don't have time to wait and see. AGG, whoever steps up for them is whoever shows out in training camps, whoever shows out in preseason, that's who they keeping.